What is up, RotoGrinders? My name is TJ Zwarich. I am your host today. Dean 7803694208 is out. He is back hanging out in Grant Neefer's basement, dog sitting. I don't know where he is, but he's out for today, a well-deserved break. I'm here for GrindersLive, not by myself. I am joined by the wonderful, the lovely, the compassionate, empathetic, kind human being, Keith Eister. How you doing?
Man, what an intro there. I don't know how to follow that up, but yeah, happy to be here. Excited for another great NBA slate. We've got the debut of Kevin Durant for the Suns. We got a nice little injury situation for the Lakers that gives us plenty of value on this slate. So all kinds of goodness. Excited to get in and break it down with you.
Yeah, the Lakers in particular are without a doubt the top value spot, with Charlotte looking like another team without LaMelo Ball, just prime for the picking with some value today. So I'm excited to dive into this one. How have things been going for you in these past few days? Because I was feeling myself. I had a hot weekend. I was winning GPPs Saturday, winning GPPs Sunday. And then Monday got real unlucky. Yesterday, I was just flat out wrong and got punched right in the mouth by the slate. How'd things go for you yesterday?
Not too bad. Yeah, the Dennis Smith Jr. thing yesterday. I know you were hot on him. Unfortunately,
Chris Dunn had him in 100%.
Or yeah, Chris Dunn. That's what I mean. That's what I meant.
Didn't go too well. Dennis Smith Jr. today might have close to it.
Similar situation, right? I think he gets a little bit more run than Dunn saw yesterday, though. So probably a little bit safer. But yeah, I loved Anthony Davis yesterday. That worked out really well. Paired him with John Morant quite a bit. So had a couple of good lineups that finished okay. Small profit, nothing too huge.
Without a doubt, the worst part, at least for my ego, was somebody in chat being like, Spider-Man meme of Davion Mitchell and Chris Dunn. And I'm like, no way. Davion Mitchell is a great player, but he's a terrible point per minute guy. Chris Dunn, not that great of a player, but a great point per minute guy. And then Davion Mitchell, of course, outscored Chris Dunn. So whoever that was in chat, kudos to you. I will take my L there because I was wrong. I was wrong on that one. But we're moving on to tonight. Let's make sure.
You did have a great call on Tari Eason, though. Had another really good game. You've been on him. You were on him before anybody else was talking about it. So props to you
Tari
on that
Eason
call.
is just every night I'm trying to at least double the field on. There's a few guys like that again today that just are strong point per minute producers. I don't know how many minutes they're going to play, but I definitely want to get over the field on them in tournaments. So let's start diving into the slate because, pardon me, couldn't mute in time. We had a big slate last night, big slate tonight, big slate, small slate coming up here tomorrow. But this very first game of the night, we already got some injury news on both sides, some positive injury news on the side of the Phoenix Suns. We got a 119.5 total for the Suns, 109.5 for the Charlotte Hornets today. Like you mentioned, Kevin Durant is back, looking as though he is going to be on a minutes limit today. But with Kevin Durant back, this seriously limits my interest on the Phoenix Suns, even though they got a big total today. Guys like Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Josh Okogie, who had been a good play recently. I don't know how much I want to get to these guys because I feel like the usage and the minutes are going to be a lot more spread out.
Yeah, with Durant cracking this lineup now, it just kind of throws all the pricing out of whack. Normally, this is a spot we would be targeting Phoenix heavily, but because they're all kind of mispriced because the Durant usage is not baked in here, it does make it really difficult. I do have slight interest still in taking a couple shots on Ayton, 8,100. Who knows what his offensive role is gonna be with Durant in there? But Charlotte struggles against bigs a ton. Should be a nice pace up spot for Phoenix as well. And then Devin Booker, less so than Ayton, but I think you can still take a couple large field shots on Booker as well. He's still going to get his shots up. His ceiling is definitely capped with Durant there. But that's where I'm just, because I'm playing so much Charlotte, I'm going to use those guys a little bit. Nothing crazy though.
The one I'm like Chris Paul, Devin Booker, or Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I don't know how much I'm getting to them today. 7,900 Chris Paul is like somewhat tempting to me. It's just there's so many guards that we want to play in chat today. Somebody in chat mentioned, Derek in chat mentioned, there's so many guards we want to play. And because of that, I'm gonna be picky. And I don't know if Chris Paul's gonna be making the pool, but centers always smash against Charlotte. I'm ready to put DeAndre Ayton in my pool. Probably not get too much of him, but the fact that he's going totally underowned at 8.1K on DraftKings, I'm going to be looking to get to him today. I got Fanduel popped up here on the screen share just because I already have most of these Phoenix players X'd out on my DraftKings build already. But with these Fanduel prices, like Chris Paul would maybe be the one I'd be most interested in taking shots on. But with Ayton and Paul and Ayton and Booker and Durant all over 9K, I don't think I want to get to any of these guys on Fanduel.
Yeah, I'm fair enough. The Booker price is really difficult. Cheaper on DK. Yeah, I mean, it's large field only for sure for any of these guys. But excited to see how Durant looks with the Suns.
Exactly. This is something that's going to be a lot more exciting for real basketball than I think it is for DFS today. However, on the other side of this game, Charlotte they're 10-point underdogs, but without LaMelo Ball, all of these projections just skyrocket. We have Terry Rozier looking like a phenomenal play on DraftKings where he's 7.2 play, still a 7.2K, still a very solid play over on FanDuel where he's 8.2. But FanDuel's been so quick and so ready to price players up all season long for these types of situations. Terry Rozier is 8.2K. Dennis Smith Jr. is 6.1 play. These are still strong plays, but they're priced appropriately. Gordon Hayward at 6.7 over on FanDuel is looking like one of the chalkier plays on the slate. But on DraftKings today, I wouldn't do this on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, like I think I'm making a rule. I want to have one of Rozier or Smith Jr. in basically all of my lineups today.
Yeah, I mean, they're both just simply too cheap for the role that they're going to have without LaMelo. Not an ideal matchup against the Suns, but like they're just going to have a ton of usage. Rozier has been at 33% usage with LaMelo, PJ Washington, and the traded away Mason Plumlee off the court this season. Pretty decent sample size on that because Ball missed some time earlier this season. So he should be taking a ton of shots here. DSJ gets a nice minutes boost here. We've got him projected for 33. So they're just simply underpriced. Gordon Hayward has been playing fairly well here recently. Again, should have some more usage. Like all five of the starters here get a nice usage bump. Well, I guess it's four starters: Rozier, Hayward, Smith, and Williams, and then Oubre we have projected off the bench. Has seen a nice usage bump as well without LaMelo. So very interested in these Charlotte guys. Mark Williams at 6,300 on DK. I'm very interested in. He has played much better without PJ Washington for whatever reason. Each of the last two games, he's put up a nice number fantasy points wise, getting a ton of rebounds. And now there's more usage to go around as well. So I think Mark Williams could have a big game here. And I don't even hate shots on Oubre off the bench. Like I said, a small usage bump for him. Not the greatest price in the world, but I could certainly see him paying that off.
What would it do to your interest levels if all of a sudden Charlotte did something we don't expect and went, Dennis Smith Jr. is coming off the bench and Kelly Oubre is back into the starting lineup? How would that impact your interest levels for Dennis Smith Jr. coming off the bench and then also for Kelly Oubre?
I still think you can play DSJ either way. He's going to have to play minutes. He's going to be at least the backup point guard. So I think like 28 minutes is probably a floor, even off the bench. Oubre jumping into the starting lineup, I'd have even more interest in, would just feel much more solid about the minutes. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm interested in both of them either way. I could also see them doing something weird like starting McGowan's and using DSJ as just the primary backup point guard, starting Rozier at the one. Probably not likely. I think that Dennis Smith Jr. does jump into the starting lineup, but definitely worth keeping an eye on this Hornets lineup because they could do some weird things.
It's weird. Usually when there's a 10-point spread like this, we have a clear favor. A team is missing players like Charlotte is. I often would want to take shots on a lot of the bench guys, but I don't really. Like, it's just Dennis Smith Jr. and Terry Rozier I really want to attack. Gordon Hayward and Mark Williams I'll get to in tournaments. Hayward, obviously, in Fanduel, where the value is a lot more difficult to come by, is a much higher own play. But there's none of these Charlotte bench guys I really view as strong point per dollar plays. The cheap ones just aren't that strong, and then the guys like Kelly Oubre, like he's just priced at a point that unless he popped into the starting lineup and I knew he was getting 30 plus minutes today, I don't think I could play him at that price tag. When we have a 10-point spread like this, it is always interesting to take a look at some bets in addition to the DFS, and we've got you covered at scoresandodds.com, your number one place for all things sports betting. Check it out for everything you need to make you a better sports bettor, including our Parlay IQ tool with automated FanDuel Sportsbook integration. Build your optimized same-game parlay based on thousands of simulated games. With a click of a button, you can bring that bet slip directly into the FanDuel Sportsbook. Keith, you got any bets popping for tonight, or is it just a DFS night for you?
Just a DFS night for me today. Had some things going on earlier. Had a meeting with Chris, so I've been tied up. Haven't had a chance to dig into the props world yet, but I might get some action down here before lock rolls around. We'll see. But haven't had much time to research yet.
That makes sense, but we still got you. They got you covered at Scores and Odds for that, and we got you covered for the DFS here on Grinders Live, followed by the Crunch Time crew. Let's hit that like button. Let's pump those likes up a little bit. We did great towards the end of the show yesterday, but let's start getting that going early already. Let's start hitting the likes early in the show. Let's start making that the very first thing that we do. You join the show, you hit the like button, drop in the comment section, say what's up, let us know you're here. Join this wonderful community we got going on in chat. Let's pop it over to the second game of the slate. We have the Chicago Bulls at the Detroit Pistons, a once great rivalry. Now, not so much, with neither of these teams looking like they're going to be doing too much damage this year. Detroit, one of the worst teams in the league. Chicago, maybe just squeaking into a play-in game here. Chicago is a 6-point favorite in this one, going up against Detroit. Do you have any interest here in the Chicago team?
Not a ton. It's a great matchup against Detroit, but they're all just kind of priced appropriately. DeRozan's price on DraftKings is attractive, but he has been really struggling. I don't know if it's injury or what the deal is with him, but back-to-back for these guys as well, too, as it is for a lot of teams. I think there's 8 teams on a back-to-back today. So I don't have a ton of interest at these pricing with all 3 of their stars healthy. It's likely that one of the stars has a good game and pays off their price tag. I just don't know that on a 9-game slate that I want to allocate roster spots trying to find who that guy is. Just because of the DeRozan price, I might have a little exposure on DraftKings, but the pricing on FanDuel is even more tough.
Yeah, I agree with you. On FanDuel, it's really tough to get to any of these guys. Nikola Vucevic at 8,900 is definitely the one I have the most interest in on FanDuel. And then over on DraftKings, we do still have a bit of an underpriced DeMar DeRozan, 7,900 over there. So Vucevic and DeRozan are really the only 2 Bulls that I have in my pool. Kind of a weird start to this slate with the first 2 games. We're really only interested in the underdogs. Like, we're really only interested in the teams that are either going to get blown out or play a close game and then lose this one. Because on the Detroit side of things, we got a guy like James Wiseman where we got Chop, we got Stevie, and you yourself tagging them as an expert play today. So before we talk about the rest of the Pistons, talk to me about James Wiseman.
Yeah, just he's getting an opportunity finally. Obviously, they're missing several bigs with Stewart and Duren out for Detroit. He's been playing well. The price has come up, excuse me, but not quite enough. Like, should see upper 20s minutes here. He's a big per minute guy. 4,800 just not quite enough for what he can do. That being said, I will have Bagley in the pool as well. Probably limit one of those guys per lineup. Sorry, I've got something in my throat. I'm going to toss it back to you so I can grab a quick drink here.
Yeah, no worries at all. I got you. The thing with Detroit today is I agree with you. I'm rolling with one of Bagley and Wiseman. I don't want to be pairing them together like I did the other slate when it was only 4 games and Wiseman was wildly cheap. They're both stronger plays on DraftKings than they are FanDuel. Bagley's 4.9K on DraftKings. Wiseman's 4.8. And Wiseman has the very, very valuable positional flexibility on DraftKings. He's not only center eligible, but he's power forward eligible as well. I think Bojan Bogdanovic, Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, all of them are reasonable tournament plays today, but not people I'm trying to get to in bunches. It's really going to be about Wiseman or Bagley for me today.
Yeah, completely agree. With Bogdanovic coming back, it kind of nukes some of that other value that we played earlier this week. I think it was Monday slate. They were really popular, but Bogdanovic was out for that game. So with him back, it's tougher to get to some of these guards, but very interested in the big men, Wiseman and Bagley. And a great point about Wiseman's power forward eligibility. That is a huge key and what helps you get even more exposure to him.
And I mean, Killian Hayes is probably going to be the other guy who's going to pick up a little bit of ownership today. We're projecting right now for 12% on FanDuel, about the same on DraftKings. I get it. He had a good game last game, but there was a lot more opportunity. Jaden Ivey is back for this one. I don't personally love Killian Hayes today, but $5,300 on DraftKings, it definitely isn't bad. Like, that's a salary he should pay off. I just don't know how much I'm going to get to him today. On to the next game, though. We have Cleveland at Boston. A little bit less offensive goodness in this one because we got both of these teams as two of the better defensive teams in the league. Now, don't get me wrong. There still should be some buckets scored in this one because we got two very strong offenses as well. But a 107 to 112 total. And these are two of the top defenses in the league here. Starting with the Cleveland Cavaliers, we have Mitchell, Garland, Allen, and Mobley always as threats, but kind of appropriately priced, in my opinion, considering everyone is back and playing here for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Talk to me about the Cavs.
Yeah, tough game environment here. Two top 5 defenses, like you mentioned, fully healthy Cleveland team. Everyone's just kind of appropriately priced because of the matchup in the big slate. I'm just not seeing myself get to any of these Cleveland guys, really. It's just harder for Mitchell to find a ceiling with Garland playing alongside. I usually only target Garland and Mitchell when one of them is out. It certainly can happen, but on a 9-game slate in one of the toughest matchups of the night, I can't see myself paying over $9K for Donovan Mitchell. I would lean to Garland first just because of the savings if I had to choose one, but probably not getting to either of them. Mobley, I think, is playable, but not somebody I'm necessarily prioritizing. If I happen to need a power forward or forward in at the mid 7Ks, I wouldn't kick him out of a lineup. But again, just none of these guys are priorities for me.
Same boat as me. Donovan Mitchell maybe gets in some lineups. Darius Garland maybe does. These big men, I think they're just kind of fairly priced. And I'm still not excited to get to the guards either. It's just like, well, what if they're really hot from 3? And that's kind of like they're talented players, so I want to keep them in my pool. But I just don't really like getting to them tonight. And the only reason they're in my pool is because I am running 150 plus lineups tonight. So on the Boston side of things, Jason Tatum disappointed, shooting terribly, and then getting ejected last time out as chalk with Jaylen Brown out. Now we have Jaylen Brown back. All of these guys on terms of the guards and the wings are kind of priced up for there to be an absence, somebody to be out in this one. And now they're all back here. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can always go off, but I don't think this is going to be one of the games on the slate we're super fond of.
Yeah, agree. With Jaylen Brown coming back, everybody's just a little bit too expensive. Marcus Smart missed some time as well, so you've got a really hefty price tag on Derek White. I don't mind some shots on Tatum, but again, it's a tough matchup against Cleveland. You've got Jaylen Brown coming back, which hinders his ceiling a little bit, but we can certainly, he could put up a score that you absolutely have to have. I don't think it's likely in this matchup against Cleveland, but I certainly want a few lineups with Tatum just because of minuscule ownership. So just give me 5 to 7% of him, and I think that's enough just to make sure he doesn't burn you tonight. Robert Williams is the only one I would consider outside of Tatum, and even that I'm not terribly interested in. The center's a premium position. There's a lot of great centers, and we've got a situation later on in the slate. We're still waiting on some news that could make that even more of a priority. So I doubt that I'll be loading up too much Robert Williams.
Yeah, he's always a guy I think you need to include in your pool for GPPs. On Fanduel, he's priced up, yes, but where those blocks are worth more, he has a really high ceiling. And then on DraftKings, he's only 5.2, which I think is just too cheap for this one. So I think if you're playing a lot of lineups, Robert Williams isn't, just like tonight specifically, not a fantastic play, but always somebody that you kind of want to keep in your pool because of his upside. We already got over 150 people watching right now, going up over to 200. We've been hot lately with the cheap, the low own plays. Keith crushed last night. 2 nights before that, I had Tari Eason at 40% when he was only 5% owned. The night before that, I had Chris Dunn at 40%, 45%. He's only 5% owned. If you want one of these nice low owned plays, let's bump up the like button. We'll give a sub 10% GPP play of the day if we can get up over 75 likes here. So as soon as we reach 75, you got a cheap sub 10% projected tournament play today. So grab your mouse, slide it over, click the like button. If you're watching on your phone, click hide chat. It takes some work on your phone. You got to click 2 buttons instead of 1. I'm sorry, it's difficult. You click hide chat, you hit the like button, you pop the chat back up, and you're good to go. We might have something to talk about in this next game, Philly and Miami.
Before we move on, we did just have some Hornets news drop. Steve Clifford has announced that Kelly Oubre will start tonight.
There it is. Something we just talked about as potential. Now, do you think it's Dennis Smith Jr. he slides into the starting lineup for, or do you think it's JT Thor?
I kind of lean that it will be Rozier at the 1 and Oubre at the 2 and Dennis Smith Jr. coming off the bench. That's my initial thought. But we'll see. They could definitely start Oubre at the 3, I suppose. And let's see here. Who else? I'd put Hayward at the 4. I don't know. Phoenix has enough size. I feel like they want Thor out there just for defensive purposes. So I feel like he's starting ahead of Dennis Smith Jr. But we'll have that information soon enough.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah. We don't really have to speculate because that's going to be coming. Like Dennis Smith Jr. seems like the better option to start, but at the same time, like they're really going to have no bench scoring if he's not. So I kind of hope he doesn't start. Bops his ownership down a little bit. Yep. And then Dennis Smith Jr. coming off the bench, getting all the usage. I don't mind that whatsoever in this one. How are you handling rules in that game before we switch to the next one? Between now that we got Oubre in the starting lineup, that should divvy up the usage quite a bit. Now I haven't taken away my rule that I want to have 1 to 2 of Rozier and Dennis Smith Jr. in all of my lineups. But I do think maybe I want to make a limit of like Rozier, Oubre, and Hayward to max 2 of those guys.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think they're cheap enough that I could see all 3 of them getting there. But like certainly you need to make some decisions to help with your roster construction. And I don't hate that. This is a difficult matchup against Phoenix. So definitely a situation where maybe 3 of them can't quite get there.
Exactly. It's only a 109 total. If you do have, like, outside of cash game things, if you do have 3+ Hornets in your lineup, I do think that's when I'd kind of be looking. Maybe I want to be running it back with somebody because this is a very large slate. This isn't like 2 days ago where it was only a 4-gamer. And it's like, yeah, I'll play 5 Detroit guys. I don't care. It's not the same case tonight where, yeah, Charlotte's got good value, but it's not even the best value on the slate. We got other teams as well. AO's making a great point up in chat. 162 people watching, only 46 likes. Come on, 120 people don't want a crazy own GPP play? You got to be kidding me. That's crazy logic. We want to win money over here, so let's hit the like button. It truly does a lot for us. YouTube's algorithm is tough to crack, and the only way it happens is people subscribing, people hitting the like button, people hitting the notification bell. That's the only way we can thrive on here. So thank you so much for doing that. Let's talk Miami. Let's talk Philadelphia. As it stands right now, I have no interest in this game. Joel Embiid, always a great play when he plays. James Harden, always has a ceiling. Jimmy Butler, same thing, especially going up against his old teams. He loves popping off in those situations. But if Joel Embiid plays, this is still a tough environment game. 2 very strong defensive teams a very low total. I don't want to get that. I might take a stand and just not play the game outside of maybe a little bit of Jimmy Butler, unless Joel Embiid is out, because then this is a totally different story. Then James Harden, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, DeAnthony Melton, Paul Reed. Is Montrezl Harrell even still on this team? Is he out, or are we just not projecting him right now?
I believe he's still on the team. Let me check the lineups page just to confirm that. Let's see here. Philly.
Long story short, if Embiid
is on the team,
yeah, he's on the team. He's not in our projections right now, so I'm assuming that's just based on Embiid's playing, so he's not going to get any minutes. Whoever starts between him and Paul Reed would be very, very interesting. And then regardless, I think both of them would probably be very interesting anyways here, just because they're both very strong point per minute producers. I'd have extra interest in Paul Reed. But if Joel Embiid's in, yeah, I'm sure this is going to be a good, close, competitive basketball game. But from a DFS standpoint, I don't think I like it very much.
Yeah, I'm with you there for sure. It's very similar to the last game. You've got two slower paced, good, solid defensive teams that are fully healthy, assuming Embiid plays. So it is difficult to want to target this game as well. Embiid did receive the midday downgrade to questionable. So I don't know if that's truly questionable. He's been playing through this questionable tag for, it seems like, a month. But definitely something to keep an eye on, because Embiid out would completely change the situation. Paul Reed, like you mentioned, minimum price, a big per minute guy. Hopefully he would be in the starting lineup. Even if he's not, I have some interest, just depending on what happens with news elsewhere. But yeah, that's really the only way I'm interested in any of these Philly guys. We saw Harden have a pretty decent game against this Miami team last time, Monday night, I think that was. But if Embiid is in, I don't think his price has come up quite a bit since Monday as well. I believe he was under 10K on Monday night. Now he's 10-3 on DraftKings, at least where I'm looking. So just a tough price tag and a tough matchup. I probably don't have much interest at all if Embiid is in.
Yeah, same page for me. On the Miami side of things, Jimmy Butler did just go off against this Philly team the other day, but I don't really think I have a lot of interest in Miami either. Especially not on Fanduel, where Jimmy Butler is at over 5K, over 10K, but on DraftKings where he's at 9. I do think he's still in play for tournaments, but I don't think I want to get to anybody else really. Bam Adebayo, Kevin Love is priced appropriately now. Tyler Herro, maybe in large field tournaments, do I want to get to just a little bit, but it's just a tough matchup. It's a low total and a tough matchup. Is there going to be anybody from Miami you're looking to get to more than maybe just like a tournament sprinkle today?
There's not, no. Jimmy Butler, I had a decent night Monday night too because of an overweight stance on Jimmy Butler. But like you mentioned, like it was a 4-game slate. It's much more viable to take shots on guys who aren't grading out near as well. On short slates, like 9K, there are so many better options that I would much rather play ahead of him. He's the only guy I'm even considering if Embiid plays. I will say that Adebayo becomes more interesting if Joel Embiid does sit, just because the defense takes a huge hit on the other side. Might have slight interest in Bam in that scenario.
Yeah, I feel that as well. If we get Embiid out, then I'm re-adding Bam to my pool. And I will say, like, if Embiid is out, at bare minimum, I'll have one of Paul Reed and Harrell on every team, but I'd be probably close to hitting the lock button down to 3K Paul Reed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
On to the next one here. We have the Brooklyn Nets at the New York Knicks, the showdown of New York City. A much different Brooklyn team than we've seen before the All-Star break, but still a little bit of fantasy goodness every now and then. Mikal Bridges has flashed a huge upside. Nick Claxton showed his ceiling last game, had a great game. Cam Thomas every now and then has a big ceiling off the bench, and Cameron Johnson has been shooting very well lately. 108 total for the Nets here. You going to be getting to any of them today? Because the field sure as heck is not.
Yeah, I actually have quite a bit of interest here because of those ownerships. You touched on Bridges, 7,400. The price hasn't really moved, and the guy has been taking a ton of shots here recently. We've never seen him in like an alpha role in an offense, just because like he's played alongside Devin Booker and Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton for his whole career. So he's never been the lead man in an offense, but we've kind of seen him take that role here with Brooklyn. I'm not scared of a matchup against New York. Like they don't play at the fastest pace, but Bridges and his shot volume, I don't think the price has quite adjusted to that role as long as he continues to do that. So I'll be at least double the field on Mikal Bridges, potentially 3 times the field. I think you can take shots on Dinwiddie and Claxton as well. I won't have as much of those guys just because I don't think it's as likely that they hit a ceiling, but they're at a price point. You can certainly play them. Cam Johnson as well. You mentioned Cam Thomas, like just guys who can score a ton of points. And if Bridges is not going to continue to shoot the ball a ton, these guys could certainly be candidates to pick up the slack on offense. So definitely don't hate those guys. Mid 5K price range. Certainly they can pay those prices off.
I'm interested in them for tournaments for sure, but I think Cameron Johnson, especially on FanDuel, where we don't have a ton of value any nights on FanDuel in comparison to DraftKings. On DraftKings, you can always stars and scrubs it and find cheap value. On FanDuel this year, they've taken a different approach and have been so quick to price players up. Cameron Johnson is, as you can see, only has the $300 difference here between FanDuel and DraftKings. The last 2 games has been shooting the ball hot from the field, but he is just a very good shooter. 41 fantasy points 2 games ago on FanDuel, 37 in the very next game. I think he's a very interesting play for tournaments. I think he's going to low own today. Sorry.
Like that,
I think you're
like that quite a bit.
I didn't really set you up for anything, and so it was it was quiet for it was too long of a pause for my ADHD. I should have mixed in a few more words. But on to the New York Knicks. Somebody always has a ceiling game. One day it's Brunson, one day it's Randall. Every now and then RJ Barrett pops it in. But this team kind of reminds me of the Chicago Bulls a little bit. I feel like I kind of always want to play one of them, but I never really know who it is.
Yeah, it's tough. Like the addition of Josh Hart, as weird as it is, like he's pretty much nuked RJ Barrett. It's really tough to play RJ Barrett at this point. And he's hurt Jalen Brunson a little bit as well. Like Brunson was just going off every night, it seemed like, for a couple of weeks there. But it's really come down on him, the production here recently. For that reason, I think Julius Randle would be my favorite target. I do agree with you that somebody on this Knicks team is paying off their price. Unfortunately, Randle is the most expensive, but that's probably where I'm looking first. I don't hate shots on Mitchell Robinson. He's a guy that can rack up a ton of blocks and find his way into a big ceiling game every now and again. So don't hate Mitchell Robinson. I don't think I'm getting to Brunson today. I just haven't seen enough here recently. I like Julius Randle better. That's probably the way that I'll play it, and just avoiding the majority of the rest of the team.
Call me crazy, but there is one play I don't mind getting to on DraftKings, and it's Emmanuel Quickly. At 4,900, he's still playing high 20s minutes, basically the same as Barrett is. And he hasn't really seen any type of price increase. He's put up over 30 fantasy points in back-to-back games. I do still think he has a ceiling at that price because his role hasn't really diminished. He's still the backup point guard who also plays shooting guard minutes. And so he's still probably going to get high 20s minutes, and I think is reasonable to keep in the pool for tournaments here. Hit that like button for us. We are almost through up to that 75 number needed to get the nice low own play. We're halfway through the slate here. I got to slow myself down. I'm talking too fast. I got to channel my inner Dean. And this is the perfect
Dean
time.
Tangents for sure.
I need some Dean tangents because we're going really quick. The crunch time guys aren't going to pop in here for like 35, 40 minutes. So let's pop things back a little bit. Let's slow it down. In this first half of the slate that we've talked about, the 7 to 7:30 games. All of these first 5 games take place within the first half hour. Outside of Charlotte, there's not really that much that's enticing. There's not really that much that's like, wow, this is a bona fide great play. I need to make sure I have these guys in my lineups. If you're playing a single entry, if you're playing cash, you definitely need some Charlotte players. Even if I'm running 150, I'm still going to be getting at least one Charlotte player in probably all of my lineups. But other than that, I feel like you can really take a backloading approach on this slate. Find a few stands like we were talking about Brooklyn. They're going very low owned, finding a couple of those guys to go heavily overweight on. But other than that, like, this does feel like an early slate of games we can ignore a large part of and wait and see what happens in some of these 8 o'clock games. Wait till we get a Lakers starting lineup. Obviously, unless Joel Embiid is out. If Joel Embiid is out, throw out everything I just said. But if Embiid plays, we can kind of do that.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Like we've talked about the bad game environments between Cleveland, Boston, and Philly, Miami. Just the defense that's going to be played in there. Like we've got the Jaylen Brown coming back, messing up the pricing on Boston. Have the same situation in Phoenix with Kevin Durant coming in, messing up their pricing a little bit. So yeah, like Phoenix, we would normally love in this matchup against Charlotte, but because of the unique Kevin Durant situation, kind of makes a lot of them unplayable or large field tournament plays at best. I do agree. If I was going to take a stance in one of these early games, it would be Brooklyn, and Mikal Bridges is the way I'm planning to do that at the moment. Like you definitely want some Charlotte exposure, but I don't think you have to play anyone from any of the other teams in the other games. So agree that you can definitely backload some lineups here. Definitely one questionable tag I'm keeping my eye on that we may not have by lock time, but hopefully they play at 10. So we may not even have it by then, but we've got Jonas Valanciunas questionable, and Willie Hernan-Gomez is one of the reasons I didn't completely destroy on Monday night, because he caught a DNP. That was brutal.
That hurt. That hurt for me as well.
But if you can buy yourself some time, like if Embiid gets ruled in, you can save some center spots just in case that situation breaks the way that you want to. Hopefully you get the news by 8. You may still not end up getting it by 8, but definitely I think backloading is a good way to play this one outside of Charlotte. You definitely want to load up on Charlotte.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, for those who didn't tune in early, we're not saying completely fade. We're not saying like, yeah, I'm not playing any Phoenix guys, any no Boston, no Philly, nothing like that. We're just saying there's not really a need to go heavy on these guys. If I'm playing a single entry outside of Charlotte, probably not getting all that much. If I'm playing 3+ Charlotte players, yeah, I don't mind a run back. We both like DeAndre Ayton as our favorite run back on Phoenix. There are still players in these early sets of games that you can play. Absolutely. There's just some stuff coming up, including this next game that we're going to talk about here, LA and OKC, that is just much more exciting aside from Philly if Embiid is out, and of course Charlotte. Before we dive into that next game, we do have so much time. If you got QQs, make sure you get them in here. Get in your QQs, not just about basketball, but about anything, about life. I got an education degree, a psychology degree. Let's hit them with the tough questions, And in the meantime, let's hit the like button. We got over 200 people watching right now. Let's bump the likes up. We got people in the chat who are watching The Last of Us. You watching that, Keith?
I have not seen it. No.
Oh my gosh, it is such a good game. You should check it out. It's such a good show. Sorry, it's a great game as well. It's a video game adaptation, maybe the best one that's ever been done. But you should watch The Last of Us. It's a lot of drama. It's a lot of tears, a lot of emotions, some zombies. It's great stuff. What kind of TV are you into? What kind of movies and show guy are you?
See, you're on one end of the spectrum, and I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You
just don't watch just sports.
It's almost always sports on my TV. Like I'll catch a Netflix series every now and again, but it's almost always sports. Yep.
What about a movie like Hustle on Netflix, where you got Adam Sandler and Juancho Hernan-Gomez playing an NBA player in the movie?
Yeah, I watched that. I thought that was really well done. It's fun to see guys cross over and do things they aren't used to doing. I thought they both did an excellent job.
I mean, Shout out Wancho, even though he just got cut by the Raptors. That sucks. But both him and Anthony Edwards were just so unbelievably incredible in that movie. Yeah. People asking if I've watched the new Marvel movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania yet. Yes, I have. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I had a lot of fun, but it still kind of fits in those trend of the last 3 movies for me, where I'm glad they're going to start taking a bigger break and spreading this stuff out because they need more time. The quality is not as high as it used to be in these last 3 movies, but it could have been. They just needed more time, and so I'm hoping things get a little bit better here. But that's enough of the pop culture. That's enough of the movies. I'm also watching The Mandalorian right now. First episode came out today. I got to watch the first 2 for review purposes. Oh my gosh, this show is fantastic. Interviewed the director the other day. So anyways, let's talk the Lakers and the OKC Thunder, because this is the most important game of the slate. Charlotte, we've spent a lot of time talking about, but like, this is the game that we could spend the majority of this of the show talking about. We could probably do a 30-minute show just on this game if we wanted to. Let's start with the Lakers. It's a 112 total for them, 115.5 for OKC. Close spread, fast-paced game. No Anthony Davis, no LeBron James, no D'Angelo Russell. The 3 best players, the 3 highest usage plays for the Lakers, they're gone. And they're facing a team against OKC who is in the tankathon. They don't want to win these games. They're without SGA. A team that doesn't want to win against a terrible team that does want to win. Talk to me, Keith. How are we attacking this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is DFS gold right here. This is what we live for. Everybody's underpriced. Like, there's guys going to step into roles that they're not used to seeing. You're going to see Dennis Schroeder with a ton of usage today. The ball in his hands, an absolute ton. You're going to have guys like Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley taking way more shots than they're used to. Like, we saw the Lakers were shorthanded. Was that yesterday? And we saw some weird things, like Austin Reeves had a really good game. Lonnie Walker had a really good game. And guys like Dennis Schroeder and Malik Beasley, who were chalk, and Jared Vanderbilt as well, who we expected to do well. The majority of them failed. Like, Schroeder wasn't terrible. Vanderbilt did not get it done after absolutely smashing in the game before that. So it's a really interesting situation here. I think you can be you can play the ownership game here a little bit. Like, yeah, Schroeder is going to grade out the best. I think he's the safest of the options for sure. But a guy like Malik Beasley looks like a great play on paper. But if he has an off shooting night and somebody like we saw it in the last game, Lonnie Walker steps up and takes on a much larger scoring role, you're going to get a great ownership advantage there. So getting weird on this Lakers team, I think, is the way to go. I think you want at least 2 of them in every single lineup. Like, they're just so far underpriced. It's a really good matchup against OKC. It's hard to see at least 2 of them being optimal. I mean, I don't think there's any way that all of them fail. Like, you're gonna need 1 or 2 of these guys at least, I think. I certainly don't mind playing up to 4, even though it's a large slate, and I'm generally pretty aggressive with my in limiting my exposure per lineup to certain teams. But like, you've got a bunch of guys in the 3K. Rui Hachimura, we're expecting to jump into the starting lineup. He's 3,700 on DraftKings. Mo Bamba is a big per minute producer, 3,500 off the bench. Like, you can go probably 10 deep here on this Lakers team. Wenyen Gabriel is a guy we've seen produced in short stints as well. We just don't know what the rotation is going to look like here. So many guys in play. You just need to load up on Lakers exposure.
How dare you, Keith, the audacity to go in here and take my low owned sub 5% play now that we finally have over 5 likes, because it's Wenyen Gabriel. I think we're kind of under projecting him a little bit right now. I think he'll probably get close to that 20 fantasy point range, as opposed to 20-minute range, as opposed to 16. I really like Wenyen Gabriel today with no Anthony Davis, with no LeBron James, because he's somebody that kind of fills in for both of them. He's fits the trend that I've been talking a lot about lately. Like, it's a similar Tari Eason mold where he's probably only going to play 16 to 20 minutes. If he plays 16 to 20 minutes, probably doesn't kill you. He probably gets pretty close to 5xing his salary. And because he's so cheap, your lineup's probably not dead. But if he plays a little bit more than we project, if he plays 22 minutes, if he plays 24 minutes, he's going to be a very, very good tournament play. If something weird happens and he plays 28 minutes, he is going to break the slate entirely because of the type of point per minute producer that he is. So Lonnie Walker today, or sorry, not Lonnie Walker, Wenyen Gabriel today for me is my sub 5% low owned GPP play. But just because we got the first one doesn't mean we can't keep hitting that like button. Bump it up for us. We got almost 300 people watching now. Let's get this up over 100 before the crunch time crew gets here in a half hour. How are you prioritizing these guys? Because I'm making a rule right now that I want to play 2 to 3 of Malik Beasley, Austin Reeves, Troy Brown Jr., Lonnie Walker, and Dennis Schroeder in my lineup. I don't think I want to get more than 3 of those guys, but I just can't see a world where at least 2 of these guard/wings don't have big days. And then I'm going to limit to 2 of the bigs between Hachimura and Bamba, Wenyen Gabriel and Vanderbilt. But I'm still super interested in all 4 of those guys as well. I'm going to have at least 2, but I almost want to say 3 Lakers in every lineup.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the way you broke that down with the groups is really smart. It just makes sense when you think about it. All of Reeves, Walker, Schroeder, Beasley are primarily scorers. Like they need to score a lot of points to get there. All 4 of them aren't likely to score a lot of points. You probably get 2 spike games from 2 of them and 2 semi-duds from 2 of them. So absolutely love that group. Same with the big men. The way they get there outside of a bunch of blocks or steals or something is primarily through rebounds in addition to their scoring. There are only so many rebounds to go around. So love the way that you limited the groups. I'm doing the same thing, very similar. But yes, you want tons of exposure. But if you're using an optimizer, make sure you're helping the optimizer build it the way that you want. And groups is the best way to accomplish that.
Yeah, that's something I've been doing this year a lot more than in past years, is really making specific groups a lot more often, making 3 different groups involved around the same player, and just really trying to spread things out here and ensure optimization even in my randomness, essentially. Ensure that I'm always, if I'm not playing an optimal play, well, then I'm making sure I get one of his teammates that is probably going to be doing well if that optimal play fails. And that's how I feel about the Lakers today. I'm not going to dig as deep as taking shots on Devon Reed and Max Christie. I think that's foolish. But Gabriel, Brown, Bamba, Reeves, Hachimura, all of those guys I'd want to get at least 20% of. And then Lonnie Walker, Malik Beasley, Dennis Schroeder, it's good chalk. If you're not, if they fail, it's because somebody else succeeded. And so the Lakers today is good chalk. If you don't want to play Lakers chalk, play Lakers low owned plays, but you need to play Lakers. The other team I think you're going to need to play at least a little bit of is the team on the other side of this one, the home team, OKC, a team that's trying to tank and is still favored by 3.5 points. Now, this is a team that I'm having a lot more trouble with than LA in terms of where I want to set my cut lines. Because with LA, I know, Max Christie, Devon Reed, X, everybody else, you're going to be in my pool. The other thing I would do is I'd do something like this, and I'd bump Wenyen Gabriel up to 22 minutes to make sure that I'm actually getting Wenyen Gabriel in my lineups. But then when it comes to OKC, they could do anything. They could do literally anything. Kenrich Williams is out on top of SGA. So Josh Giddey, Luguentz Dort, and Isaiah Joe, all 3 of these guys have been great plays lately. And on the surface, you just want to plug these guys right back in again, move on. But Kenrich Williams is a guy that's been playing close to 30 minutes a night. And now he's out of this one. So guys like Jalen Williams, Jalen with an I, who we've been wondering about his minutes all the time. We never know if they're going to be secure, but he's a strong point per minute producer. All of a sudden is a lot more in play, especially on DraftKings where he's 3.7. Somebody like Dario Saric. Well, we haven't been wanting to play Dario Saric, but last game he stepped in and he played 27 minutes. He was hot, shot the ball well, 31.5 fantasy points, 10x his DraftKings score. And now today they're without Kenrich Williams. Maybe it's Jeremiah Robinson Earl who steps in and plays big minutes today. Maybe Lindy Waters has a big game. Maybe Aaron Wiggins has a big game. I'm having so much trouble knowing where my cut line is on this OKC team. I know I want to prioritize the starters, but I don't know how much and which bench guys I want to be sprinkling yet. Outside of I know I want to get at least a little bit of Dario Saric and Trey Mann because they have the upsides. I don't know how much they'll play. Trey Mann, I don't know if he's going to do anything. But when these team guys are undermanned and he's 3.3K on DraftKings, I'm sitting here like, that. Do I keep him in my pool too?
Yeah, this you have to have some OKC exposure, and like you said, it's really uncomfortable because they could do literally anything. We just saw it in the last game. Like Dort was chalk, and he only ended up playing 21 minutes. Stevie and I were looking into this kind of as it happened last night, but Dort and Giddey were both like minus 30. So the second unit was just playing better than them, and so the Thunder just decided to roll with the second unit in the last game. I don't expect that type of thing to happen again, but it certainly could. So don't be afraid to get weird with some of these Oklahoma City plays as well. For me, Dort, I feel like is the safest just because of the price. You feel good about his minutes as long as he's playing okay. Last night, notwithstanding, he gets a nice usage bump without SGA. Still only 5,100, 6,100, I believe, on Fanduel, but just too cheap for the role he's going to have here. Dort would be my priority. Jalen Williams has been playing really, really well here recently. Just a little bit more expensive than Dort, but certainly wouldn't want to be talked off of him either. The bigs are very interesting, and I think that's how you get different here. Just it's an uncomfortable situation because we don't know who's getting the run. It could be Jalen Williams, Jalen with an I, could be Dario Saric, could be Robinson Earl. All three of them are near minimum price. So I just make a group that's a 0-1 group for me of those three guys, and like one of them is probably smashing their price tag. Which one's it going to be? I don't know, but there's probably one of them that are going to smash that 3K price tag.
And the beauty of this situation is we're currently projecting, like, this is more of a DK thing than a FanDuel thing.
Correct.
On FanDuel, if you want to take a shot on a guy like Jeremiah Robinson Earl, if you're running 115 lineups, I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's stupid. Same with Dario Saric. I think those are very interesting tournament plays on FanDuel. Jalen Williams, maybe not quite as much. Jalen with an I, that is. Maybe not quite as much because he's 5K. But on DraftKings, 3.7K for Jalen with an I, 3.2 for Dario, and 3K flat for Jeremiah Robinson Earl. And Dario Saric and Jalen Williams both have, and Dario Saric has that power forward eligibility as well. Jalen with an I, sub 10% ownership. Dario Saric, 2% projected ownership. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, less than 1. So based on that, it's super easy to get overweight on all three of them. You go 15 to 20% Jalen with an I, 10% Dario Saric, and 5% Jeremiah Robinson Earl. You're at least 5xing the field on those two super cheapies. You're over doubling the field on a guy like Jeremiah Robinson Earl, on a guy like Jalen Williams with an I. I think that's kind of the way you want to be approaching this today. But regardless, I'm setting a rule that I want to have at least one OKC player in every lineup tonight.
I like that. While you were talking, I pulled up the game flow from last night too, just to double check. Dario Saric did play alongside Robinson Earl quite a bit. So Saric was playing the 4, which is not something we had seen a ton of previously. So I'm you might be able to play 2 of these guys is what I'm getting at. They're still going to obviously compete for rebounds, but they're so cheap that I think you can play 2 of them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I want at least 3 players from this game in every lineup. At bare minimum. That's kind of the way I'm going about this in this one, but it's just such a juicy game. But this next one could potentially be as well. We have Memphis and we have Houston. Memphis is on a back-to-back. as far as we know right now, they still got their guys here. They still got all of them in. Ja had a huge night last night, and we're projecting him for 31% ownership on tonight's slate. Nobody else is picking up too much, but Xavier Tillman, Desmond Bane, both of them getting double digits as well here. How are you wanting to approach the Memphis Grizzlies as 10-point favorites against the Houston Rockets?
Yeah, awesome matchup here against Houston. Definitely think you want some exposure. Ja is fantastic. We know about the ceiling. Certainly don't mind it. We'll at least be even with the field. Not sure I'm going to try to go way overweight on Ja. And that's because I absolutely love Desmond Bane today. He's one of my favorite tournament plays on the entire slate. Houston has allowed the most made three-pointers in the entire league. We just saw Damian Lillard light them up for like 13 of them in one game. Desmond Bane should make a bunch of threes tonight, and 7,800 doesn't feel like a great price, but in this awesome matchup, should be wide open from three, plenty. I love Desmond Bane as a low-owned tournament play.
I like that call. He's the type of player that always has the ability to go off for big games. Desmond Bane, just one of him or Morant typically has a pretty big game. And so I like that call. The other player that I'm most interested in getting to, I think, is going to be Xavier Tillman. He's got power forward and center eligibility on Fanduel at 5.3K. And then on DraftKings, he's coming in at only a 5% projected ownership right now. And he's the type of guy that has a strong ceiling. So getting him and maybe even Brandon Clark in my pool for a, hey, just in case these guys blow them out and he gets a little bit of extra run, because both of these guys have high ceilings. They're good point per minute producers. And so Xavier Tillman is somebody I'm very interested in getting to. And then Brandon Clark, somebody that in 150 lineups, I might think, yeah, let's sprinkle him in maybe like a 1 to 3% type of thing. This next team has one of my favorites every night GPP values on the slate, who I'll touch on in a minute. But who do you like for the Houston Rockets going up against the fast-paced but strong defensively Memphis Grizzlies?
Yeah, good defense here. I know who your guy is, so I'm not going to steal your thunder there. Just want to touch on Şengün a little bit. Like, it's been a tough scene out here for him. He's overpriced for what his role has been here recently. He's not seeing mid-30s minutes like he was when we were playing him a ton a couple weeks back. I don't see any reason that I need to chase those big ceiling games that we used to see. Pretty sure a big part of what's happening with Şengün is directly translating to your guy. But I don't mind Jalen Green, just a guy who can score a ton of points on any given night. Tough matchup here against Memphis, but 6,500 is a price tag that I am comfortable targeting Jalen Green at.
Every night is Tari Eason night. No, he's not going to smash every night, but it's still a guy that you anytime there's a big spread, he is such a good point per minute producer that you kind of hope Houston gets blown out so that he can play the entire fourth quarter. And that's what he's done twice in the last few games. And when he does that, he just absolutely smashes. So a $4,100 Tari Eason is definitely going to be my favorite play on Houston, because when they're way out of games, they just let this guy run wild. 28 minutes 2 games ago, 31 minutes the very next game. Now we're expected to get Jae'Sean Tate back for this one. So obviously that limits his potential minutes, but Memphis could still absolutely swat these guys. So Tari Eason is going to be my highest owned player on DraftKings. And outside of that, I don't know how much Houston I'm really going to be looking to get to. I do want to pivot back to Memphis for a second, though, because people brought it up in chat, and I do think it's worth talking about. Do you think have you heard about the Ja Morant stuff today?
I did see that, unfortunately.
And so with the report that just came out today from, I'm trying to pull it right now to see where the original report was from. I think
while you're doing that, just a quick note that Kevin Porter Jr. is officially questionable still, I believe. We currently do not have him in projections. If he were to make it back for this game, then I definitely would not have near as much interest in Jalen Green.
Perfect. Thank you. I agree with that completely, but I wanted to make sure I didn't misquote here, and I actually got it from the source that was reporting. It's being reported from the Washington Post that Ja Morant was accused of violent and threatening behavior in 2 different police reports. And 4 days later, a teenager who was 17 years old reported to police that Ja Morant punched him and threatened him with a gun. So not just things on his mind personally, but who knows what could be going on here. If obviously the reports are to be found true, he's going to be facing some serious discipline. We don't know if it's true. Obviously, it's something that's going to be on his mind, though. And if it's being written up as a report, there's obviously things going on, and Ja might be a little shook. If he's playing and we hear nothing, are you just treating this as normal?
For the most part, yes. I don't think this incident happened like yesterday or anything, right? It's been it just finally got out to the press.
It's public now. The press got a hold of it, I think.
Yep. So he probably knew this was coming. As long as he doesn't, if they were announcing a lineup or something without him starting, then obviously you take a wildly different stance. But as long as he's in the starting lineup and playing, I'm not gonna try to figure out his mental status. Like I said, he's known about this incident for a long time. I don't think it affects him. It's a great matchup against Houston. But I don't know. I don't try to get into players' heads. Not a narrative that I intend to play. So assuming that he is in the starting lineup, I will be all systems go on Ja.
What percentage higher does Jimmy Butler try when facing an old team?
Yeah, tough to quantify, huh?
It is difficult with the Memphis situation. We don't know for sure. I agree with you. As long as we don't hear any type of news, I would probably play it as normal, but I definitely don't hate the idea of being overweight on somebody like a Desmond Bane, like you are anyways, just because he's a pretty good numbers play. I feel like that just kind of correlates with this situation well for a just in case. Yep. Orlando and Milwaukee, our last 8 p.m. game before the late night hammer, all the way at 10 o'clock. The Orlando Magic looking pretty, quote unquote, healthy, I guess, for this one. Paolo Banchero, Markelle Fultz, Wendell Carter Jr., Franz Wagner, and Gary Harris expected to start here. This game kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in terms of the other ones that are at this late spot in terms of I don't really want to play anybody. How about you?
Yeah, lots of blowout risk here. Kind of surprised Milwaukee isn't resting more guys outside of Chris Middleton. Maybe that'll end up being something that breaks late. But assuming that does not happen, very little interest here. Orlando's just a tough team to play in general, a team that has a very spread out rotation. They play a bunch of guys in the mid-20s of minutes. Very few guys play upper 30s. So it's just difficult to play them. And then you add in the very difficult matchup against a great defensive Milwaukee team. I don't see any reason to chase it here on this big slate when we have awesome values elsewhere.
Joel Embiid, a game time decision. That one starts at 7:30, a half hour after lock. We may or may not get news of that one before lock. It should be happening either in the crunch time show or right after. So make sure you're paying attention. This isn't going to be a set it and forget it type of night because we still have news that we are waiting on, especially that Joel Embiid one being by far the largest. I don't really want to play anybody on this Orlando side anyways either. Markelle Fultz, $6,200 on DraftKings, been playing some good basketball. I don't hate the idea of maybe playing Fultz or Paolo Banchero alongside Giannis. Like if I'm playing Giannis, I don't hate the idea of running it back with one of those two just in case this game stays close, and that's why Giannis has hit his ceiling. If not, I think the one that I'd probably be most interested in, believe it or not, is Mo Wagner. Now you can hear by the question mark in my voice, I'm not going to get a lot of Mo Wagner. I'm not excited about the idea, but I do think it's worth noting for tournaments that like this is an 8-game spread. It could turn into a little bit of a blowout. He's been playing more minutes lately, 20 minutes in the last game, 22. The very next game, he's been the first big off the bench for Orlando the last couple games. maybe he gets a little bit of extra blowout run. And if Mo Wagner happens to get 22 to 25 minutes, I think he could put up a very good game at that price. But he's going about 4% owned, and that's about on DraftKings, and that's about how much I think I'd have him. So there you go. Milwaukee
nice
side
pivot
of
off
things,
of those Oklahoma City bigs that we talked about.
True. Just like if those OKC guys each put up 20 and then Mo Wagner puts up 28.
24. Yeah.
24, exactly.
You're
Doesn't even have
cooking.
to be that much. All of a sudden you're cooking and in a very good spot for GPPs.
Yep.
On the Milwaukee side of things, I think it's going to be just Giannis or bust for me. No Chris Middleton, insert Jay Crowder, not going to be near as much usage, but just between Carter, Crowder, Connaughton, the Allen, Ingles, like there's just so many wings who are all going to play 20-ish minutes. I think for me, it's either Giannis or nobody.
I definitely agree with that. As far as Giannis goes, like I don't love any spend ups on this slate necessarily, which is partly why I'm okay getting different and playing lower owned guys like Julius Randle was one we talked about. Let's see who else am I overweight on. Damian Lillard we haven't talked about yet, but we're certainly going to. Like Tatum's in a tough spot, Harden's in a tough spot. We just talked about John Morant. And Giannis has been dealing with these injuries. We saw him only play, I believe it was 28 minutes last night. I'm pulling it up on the fly. Yeah, 28 minutes last night. Like if this game gets out of hand at all, I think that Giannis doesn't see his full run. He may be on somewhat of a minutes restriction anyway that we just haven't really heard about. But I'm really concerned about Giannis getting his normal like 34 to 36. So just keep that in mind. He's fully priced. It's a fantastic matchup against Orlando, obviously. But when you add the injury risk, the blowout risk, and the fact that he may not play full minutes, I don't see myself getting over the field on Giannis. I'm certainly going to have some just because he can absolutely destroy a slate. But I don't think I even necessarily need to get to the 28% that we have him projected here on DraftKings. Looks like that's what he is on FanDuel as well. So probably a number I come in like 20% on and slightly under the field. But I don't know. Yeah. And the rest of the team, I don't really have a ton of interest in the rest of the team either. Everybody is priced up for some reason. Drew Holiday, almost 9K. Bobby Portis above 7K. Who knows how much run Jay Crowder's going to get. Brooke Lopez at 6,600. Like I don't have any interest in the rest of this team.
I'm running 150 lineups in one contest. I'm running 20 in another contest, and then my single entry team. Giannis is going to be the only buck I play. And then I'm kind of in the same page. I think I'm going to have like the 15 to 25% range of Giannis today. And that's going to be about it. And I might set a rule that if I'm playing Giannis, I want to run it back with a Magic player and get a little bit of Fultz, get a little bit of Banchero, maybe somebody like a Franz Wagner. I don't know. Just in case Orlando happens to keep this game close by some imagination. But I can't see this happening in Milwaukee because Orlando is not very good. And Milwaukee is, of course, one of the better teams in the league. Before we get to this final game of the night, we have the Crunch Time crew getting in 7 minutes, and we are also 7 likes away from 100 likes. So hit that like button for us. Let's get up over 100 likes before the Crunch Time crew gets here. We got over 300 people watching right now. We do really appreciate it when you hit that like button. Hit us up. Come on, help us out. Help us out. Hit that like button. Final game of the night. We're still waiting on that Embiid news. He's a game time decision. The Lakers and OKC, that is the most important part of the night. That's our golden goose. That's where we're playing probably 3 players at bare minimum from that game in each of our lineups. Charlotte is in a great position today with no LaMelo Ball from a DFS standpoint. And then we have this game sitting on an island, 10 p.m., all by itself. New Orleans Pelicans, 115.75 total, 117.25 for the Portland Trail Blazers. 1.5 point spread, close game, high total, last game of the night. Let's start with the Pelicans. How are you handling this one? Because we were both burned by Willie Hernangomez last night, and he could potentially be the best play on the slate tonight if Jonas Valanciunas is out.
I think this is an uncomfortable thing because there are no pivots. Like if Valanciunas plays, and you have Willie Hernan-Gomez lineups, you have to pivot away. And about the only thing that you can do is go to Jackson Hayes. It's not comfortable. Actually, I take that back. You do have Trendon Watford.
I was going to say, I think for me, it'd be Watford night.
Yeah, you could shift that exposure to Watford. So I kind of retract that now. That is how I'm building my lineups. I'm building with Willie Hernan-Gomez right now, just because he, like you said, he is one of the absolute best plays on the slate. If Valanciunas sits and he jumps in the starting lineup, tons of risk because he did DNP on Monday or whenever that was, Tuesday, whatever day it was that he was popping. But if all you need is 20 minutes here, and he can absolutely smash.
So how do you handle that when he's either realistically like a 0% play or 100% play, in the sense that if you know right now Jonas Valanciunas is playing on a slate this big, we're probably not playing Hernan-Gomez, especially after DMP last game. He's probably somebody you X out of the pool. But if we know right now that Jonas Valanciunas isn't playing, you're probably putting Hernan-Gomez in 100% of lineups, or at bare minimum, Hernan-Gomez or Jackson Hayes in 100% of lineups. Pretty darn close. So how do you handle that when we don't know? We're not going to know for a while, most likely. And it's a guy that you'd probably either want to get none of or 100% of. With the uncertain, when there's uncertainty, where do you land in terms of like X% of lineups?
So this is a great question. And the way that I handle it, first of all, like, we have the benefit of the whole field is dealing with the same information that we are. So there's no way that the field is going to be able to get near as much as what he would be owned if we had the Valanciunas news pre-lock. Like, he would probably be 60+% owned if we knew Valanciunas was out right now. We don't know that. So he's not going to be 60% owned. He's going to be like, if I had to guess what percentage of the field had him in their lineups at lock, it's going to be like 5%, 10% maybe. I'm going to start with like 30%, say, and then pivot that off to a guy like Watford. I think Jackson Hayes you can take some shots on as well if the news does not break my way. If the news breaks my way, not only do I have the 30% I started with, then I can start figuring out how many other lineups I can get him into as well, and just get as high above, like as close to 100% as I can. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to get all the way to 100% because I'm going to have some lineups that have every position locked, or some lineups that I don't want to leave $3,000 in salary on the table or something like that. But every lineup that it makes sense, I would jam him in, and I'm confident that way then that I will be able to get well over the field and whatever they're able to get to.
Here's what's so interesting about this slate, because unless we get this news before 8 p.m., he will be virtually unknown tonight. Like, there's no chance in any universe that Guillermo Hernan-Gomez is over 5 to 10% owned if we don't get this news before 8. And so if you do take that stand, you have 30%. And he puts, look at the range. The reason for this is that not only is it an island game, but Austin Reeves, Jalen Williams, Rui Hachimura, Troy Brown, Mo Bamba, Lonnie Walker, heck, even Mo Wagner, who we spent some time talking about. All of these players are the same price or cheaper, and people are going to be looking to use that value in the 8 p.m. games. And so if you don't get this news, like, that's quite like this Jonas Valanciunas news is quite literally the spot that will make or break tournaments today. And I'm with you. I would rather take the stand on the side of going heavy on Hernan-Gomez for that hope, because even if it doesn't and you end up getting 20 points from Trendon Watford, you might still cash that lineup. Like, that might still be fine. Like, Rui Hachimura could score 20 points tonight. Troy Brown could score 20 points tonight. Trendon Watford could still beat them. And so that's why I don't think that's a bad play at all. I love that idea today. I'm not sure where I'm going to land, but I know I'm going to be looking to get overweight to, I guess, essentially the 0. But like, I'm looking to try and get probably at least 20% there. Now, how about the rest of this team? Because Brandon Ingram has been playing some very good basketball lately. CJ McCollum is underpriced on DraftKings at $7,500. over on Fanduel, 78, and he has that shooting guard eligibility. And not only do we have Jonas Valanciunas questionable, but we also have Josh Richardson questionable for this one. And so if Richardson is out in addition, if we get no Richardson, no Valanciunas, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Najee Marshall, all three of these guys are looking like amazing plays as well.
Yeah, I have quite a bit of interest in this New Orleans team, and building like backloading lineups like we talked about earlier in the show just helps you. If that news does break, it helps you get even more of whatever value plays you want to play if Valanciunas or Richardson get ruled out. So just build heavy with this game because it's an island game. Allow yourself multiple roster spots, and then it's pretty easy to manipulate the salary around, even if you end up having to leave a little bit of salary. But I'm highly interested in Brandon Ingram, even if both Joe Val and Richardson play. Not as much so in McCollum. I still think he's playable. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't kick him out of a lineup, but I'm not necessarily prioritizing him. Ingram, I do like the ceiling on. I want to play him regardless. I think if Richardson gets ruled out, that does it provide a nice boost to Ingram. We've seen some of his peripheral stats come down a little bit with Richardson in this lineup now, as opposed to somebody like Najee Marshall, who doesn't do much outside of scoring. So Ingram, I'm highly interested in, even more interested if Richardson sits. I'll have some McCollum, but not a ton, not necessarily prioritizing getting over the field. And then a ton of Hernan Gomez, and like you said, get as close to 100% as you can if Valanciunas gets rolled out.
If we get Embiid news before lock and he's in, I might just set myself a rule that I don't get more than one player of any of these early games outside of Charlotte, and just wait for the 8 p.m. games and this last one of the night, because this New Orleans team, I really do agree with you. I think this is going to be making or breaking tournaments tonight. We're going to be winning or losing based on this, because if you get Richardson and Valanciunas out, this New Orleans value, I think, can rival the this value on the other side, in this value from OKC and LA. We'll talk quick about Portland, because the crunch time crews are in here. Guys like Cam Reddish, Shaden Sharp, Matisse Thybulle, Nasir Little, they all make great pivots off of the Portland guys if you're wrong, and Josh Richardson and Jonas Valanciunas play. Same with Trendon Watford. He works as that pivot off of Guillermo Hernan Gomez if we happen to get that news wrong. And other than that, Damian Lillard is just a fantastic, phenomenal play, like he always is. Roth, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. It was weird. We were going way too fast. Like I was forgetting about my Dean tangents. And so we were just ripping through the slate way too fast. And then we started goofing off a bit, and now we barely even had time to cover Portland, because, I mean, I know Keith really likes Lillard too, and we didn't even really give him his due.
I mean, what can you say? All you got to say is, like, the dude could drop 71 points. So
exactly.
That's it. Roth covered it.
That's all you need to know about that man.
Roth nailed it. I'm going to be overweight on him as well. But just once again, kudos. Let's hit the like button for the Crunch Time crew coming in. We got Stevie subbing in for Crunch Time, feeling like it's 2017 again. And we also got me subbing in for Dean. And it's hard, man. You got to give it up to Dean, because he makes his timing of these games look so easy, and it's not.
The host job is a difficult, underappreciated job, I would say, if you don't mind me saying. Hey, guys, we appreciate it. I think with that, you can feel free to jump out. Excellent work.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck, guys. See you
later. And with that, it is officially time. It is the crunch time. It is sponsored by Fanduel, and I'm joined by two of the sharpest minds in the business and one very special guest. We got one, Mr. Andy Means, as per usual. He's special too, but we see him like.
Is that Stevie over there?
It's freaking Stevie. What's up, Stevie?
This is great. Don't even talk to me.
They called in the reliever, man. I'm ready to go. I just got done throwing some discs. I threw some discs this morning, so I'm warm. I'm ready to go.
Go to the paint, get the big righty out, let him go.
Yeah. Got the curve. It's working today.
I am thrilled to have you on a show. I feel like I've done maybe like one show with you in history. Like we never.
Oh, we've done more than that. It's just been a long time.
It has. It's been a long time. So
we all did drink together about 10 days ago.
We did do that. Yeah.
It feels like a month and a half ago already.
That's true. Well, I'm pumped to have you on, and we appreciate you filling in. I know it was very last minute, not your usual shift, but thanks for jumping in. Because otherwise, Meansy would have had to do literally everything, and he didn't.
I mean, I almost left when you said the hosting job is hard. I think the hosting job is like the easiest thing in the world. So
it is. That was
I almost like bugged out.
Yeah, it is. I just get to literally be like, okay, now smart people, tell me what you think. That's my whole job, is just listen to smart people. It's excellent. Okay, let's kind of dive into this slate. Means, if you don't mind kind of glossing over it or a zoomed out look, that would be helpful.
Yeah, what do we got? 9 games, 8 teams on the second night of a back-to-back.
Ooh.
So I was thinking today might be a little crazier than it ended up being. We did get one really big piece of news with Anthony Davis out because they're without LeBron. They're without D'Angelo Russell. And it's kind of similar to Monday a little bit in the sense that the matchup's decent. It's not as condensed as it was with Detroit on Monday. But there's some cheap price tags on these guys. And there's just so much stuff that's opened up. Minutes and shots and rebounds and assists. So, like, especially on DK, they're really, really loosely priced there. So I like them a lot over there. That's the main story of the slate. Questionable stuff we're still waiting on. I think I just saw KPJ is going to play with a minutes limit. I heard the guys before us talking about the Embiid thing. He got the downgrade to questionable, but it's also the thing he was questionable with like 2 weeks straight before the All-Star break. So maybe they're just like doing their due diligence so they don't get fined for not putting them on the report or something. We'll see. But Joe Val is the big one in that late game. And I'm sure they talked about it before, but there's 8 games starting from tipping off between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Then there's 2-hour break. And then it's that late game. And there could be because Nance is out too. So if Joe Val gets ruled out, whoever's starting for New Orleans at center would be really, really, really interesting. So they're really cheap on DK as well. So it's just really tough to talk through because you're holding out hope on making sure that, you have rooms to pivot and whatnot. So
are you holding out not just hope, but are you planning for this? Like, are you making these lineups like, oh, I better be ready to pivot?
I'm going to on single entry, yeah, just because on DK especially, I think Willie's like 3.7 or 3.9 and Jackson Hayes is 3K. And then in worst case scenario, you can just pivot to Watford. Like the center position isn't that great. I mean, Vanderbilt has center eligibility, but it's really, if you miss out on a big Bomba game, then sure you're going to be hurting. But like center on a big slate like this is actually not that great. So I'm going to hold out for it. And worst case scenario, pivot to Watford.
Okay, good stuff. We want to hear from Stevie on his tournament takes in a bit, but why don't we kind of dive through a cash build first, and then Stevie, I'll come to you and you can kind of walk us through what you're doing in tournaments.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll start on the old FanDuel sponsored crunch time.
Hey, Meansy, did I mention that you can sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state?
I was trying to.
Thanks. That was a good trigger there. That was a good little subtle push. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get the no sweat first bet up to 1,000 smackers. If that's what the kids call it these days, terms and conditions apply. And then FanDuel single entry series still ongoing, sponsored by RotoGrinders. That is back. Reserve your spot in the Wednesday NBA block contest. It is $100 to enter for your chance at 10K. These single entry series gradually each week, you bump up the buy-in. So if that's more your style, then jump on in. It's a great tournament to be in.
All right, point guard. Lakers, Dennis Schroeder at 5'9". He's point guard, shooting guard. He's the cheap play of choice at point guard. And then you kind of have a decision between let's see if I see I can't quite tell. Yeah, I might need a refresh here. I think I caught us in between an upload. I was liking Dame when Anthony Simons was out, but now that he got upgraded to questionable, that kind of usually means that the person's going to play. So I would rather just go save the $1,000 and probably go to Ja if you're spinning up at the other point guard spot, or if you have Schroeder at shooting guard. That's what I would be doing. If Simons does play, he's a good play. He's only 6'1", but that's a late game, the late game, I should say. So kind of tough to plan around. So those are my two main go-tos. I like Rozier, but like him more on DK. Yeah, there's a handful of other guys I could list here, but it's probably just going to be more of like last piece sort of thing. So it's really just Ja/Dame up top, and then Schroeder as the cheap guy. So let's look at shooting guard. It's going to be heavy Lakers here as well, and on the other side, Thunder. So you can go Schroeder here if you want. I really like Beasley at 5'3". Like him and Schroeder are probably going to be two of the highest usage guys on this team tonight, which is saying something. But I mean, he's only 5'3". I like him more on DK where I have him tagged, but those are the two priorities there. Then I like Jalen Williams, Galen Williams for the Thunder tonight.
Because I've definitely played the wrong Jalen so many times. So thank you.
Like he is, I mean, take game log with a grain of salt, but like you feel good about looking at his game log. The guy, like for a Thunder player that's not SGA or kind of giddy, like his minutes are actually pretty secure. Like they did this weird thing last night where Dagnall kind of like tanked it. Like not weird, but I mean like Dort played 22 minutes, but like he played this Jalen played like 32. It's like, he's a younger guy, so they want to give him as much rope as possible to see what they have. So I really like him. I like him on both sides tonight, actually. He's a preferred mid-tier option here. And Kelly Oubre at 6'4", they say he's entering the starting lineup, which would seem to insinuate that his minutes restrictions are gone. So I like that. Then moving down a little bit, I like Austin Reeves and Lonnie Walker for the Lakers. So that's a handful of guys at shooting guard. Kind of makes me think you play Schroeder at point guard and one of those expensive guys at point guard. So you can load up on some of those shooting guards I like. And then a lot of the same names here at small forward: Beasley, Jalen Williams, Lonnie Walker, and then Austin Reeves. Then you have Jeremy Grant at 6'6". Still like him even if Simons plays. Like he's still gonna be playing the same amount of minutes. Dip a little bit in usage if Simons plays, but still really like that price tag on FanDuel. And then Brandon Ingram and Giannis are the preferred spend-ups at this position. Let's go to power forward. Giannis is there, obviously. Then you have Jared Vanderbilt. Love him tonight at 5'9". So like Giannis, Grant, Vanderbilt are the guys you're looking at here. Rui, I'm kind of lukewarm on Rui. We are projecting him to start. So if you don't see him in the starting lineup, I would feel concerned about like playing him in cash at least. So be careful there. He's 4'9", but I think you can get away with playing some of these other guys I talked about. Might get some Sarge questions. I'm like he showed what you can do if he gets minutes last night. He does points, rebounds, assists usually when he plays, and he's cheap. So like I get it, but like I probably wouldn't do that in cash. And then there's some like mid-tier stuff here, like Evan Mobley. He's 7'5". Jaren Jackson's 8'2". I guess upper mid-tier is more appropriate. Those guys are fine as last pieces. And then center, somewhat difficult position to fill out on FanDuel. Like we have 18 teams playing tonight, and there's not one single positive RG value, which is crazy to say. So kind of a last piece for me, which is weird. But Joe Val, if he plays, but then you can't like really build around that. You got to have a pivot in place. Mobley's probably my preferred option here at 7'5". You can go Mo Bamba. If Mo Bamba starts, then you're definitely going Mo Bamba. You can do Robert Williams, Saric, Eubanks, Şengün. Don't love anybody, so kind of a last piece for me. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what Stevie has to say about all this Lakers chalk, honestly.
Okay, very good. Well, Stevie, let's dive into it. Talk tournament plays. You can go position by position. You can just talk about some games you want to highlight, whatever it feels comfortable for you, man.
I appreciate you, Ross. Tell me I can do whatever I want.
You can. You're the boss, man.
I mean, looking at the Lakers Thunder game, right? That's the game that I feel like everyone's playing tonight for good reason. I mean, you look at the Lakers side, Meansy talked about Schroeder, Vanderbilt, Beasley, Reeves, Hachimura, Walker, Mo Bamba, like all of them are fantastic plays, right? I think the way that you get different here is just look at the Thunder side of this game where, Meansy was talking about how weak center is and how weak power forward is. If Valanciunas is out, that obviously changes a lot because Hernan Gomez just smashes in that scenario if he even gets 20 minutes. So I think looking at a guy like Dario Saric, who's only projected for about 18 minutes, could easily play more than that. The Thunder's rotations are atrocious. If they start looking good, they bench people. So I mean, as crazy as that sounds, they want to lose games. So looking at a guy like Dario Saric, who even if he gets 25 minutes, like even if it's not 30 minutes, is someone who's projecting for less than 4% ownership, really cheap on both FanDuel and DraftKings. You can play him at the center position. And then you could potentially move Hernan Gomez to power forward on FanDuel and have Watford there at the same price tag just in case Valanciunas does play to be able to adjust that. I think that we might not get the Valanciunas news by the 8 o'clock lock. And if that happens, I mean, you got to have a pivot. So I think Watford would be the pivot on FanDuel. Very easy pivot. Make sure you get Hernan Gomez in that power forward spot over there.
That's smart.
But Dario Saric is like 32 on DraftKings, so I like that a lot. A guy that no one's really talked about today that if this game stays remotely close could absolutely smash is a guy I'm going to end up playing, and it's just because paying up to be contrarian is one of my favorite things, but that's DeAndre Ayton. He is projected for no ownership today. Gets the best matchup in the NBA. Charlotte's the worst team in the NBA when it comes to defending centers. They allow the most fantasy points. Kevin Durant's coming back. I don't think Kevin Durant is really going to affect DeAndre Ayton too much. Maybe we see even more open looks for a guy like DeAndre Ayton. So I think Ayton, again, I talked about this on the morning grind. I think if you are worried about the game blowing out, take first half like props for DeAndre Ayton instead of playing him on DFS. But I mean, looking at like the center ownership and like all the chalk that we have at center, on the cheap side, I think playing a guy like DeAndre Ayton, who, if this game stays close, Rozier, I mean, Oubre is going to start, Dennis Smith Jr., Hayward, like there's plenty of like basketball players on the other side of this game that can keep this game close enough for the Phoenix game to stay close. And if that happens, Ayton just smashes because Charlotte's awful. I mean, they're terrible, man. Like, so I like Ayton a lot for tournaments. I just don't see a lot of people playing him. And I mean, outside of that, pretty chalky. I like Morant. I like Rozier. Andy mentioned Jalen Williams. I like that call a lot. Schroeder, Sarge, and then Wiseman, looking at that Detroit center situation. Duran's not going to play. They traded for Wiseman. They kind of want to see what they have here. They're not beating Chicago. They're not going to try to beat Chicago. So I think someone like Wiseman is really interesting. He projects for decent ownership, but he's going to be someone that likely comes in under 20%.
Okay, very good. Anything else you want to touch on here? I am getting a few questions in that I wouldn't mind peppering you with, Stevie.
No, I mean, just there's a couple games on the slate, the Philly-Miami game and the Cleveland-Boston game. Four of the best defenses and slowest paced teams in the NBA. Embiid got downgraded to questionable. Most times when you get downgraded throughout the day, it usually leads to someone sitting. I don't know if we just got an alert on that.
Hornets starting lineup.
Okay. So, I mean, usually when you get an in-day downgrade to questionable, it usually means the guy's sitting. Embiid is different. I mean, so if Embiid sits, I like James Harden a lot. His ownership goes up a little bit, but I think it just kind of still goes overlooked because of a tough matchup against Miami. Talked about it in the expert survey. His usage goes up, I think, almost 5%. He's averaging over 1.5 fantasy points per minute with no Embiid. So really like Harden as a pivot if Embiid gets ruled out. And that's a 7:30 game. So we should get that news here probably within the next 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay, very good. I got this question from Joe. It is a FanDuel GPP question, Stevie. He says, am I psychotic for putting two guys for each team in the 10 p.m. game and just praying?
I mean, okay, so Lillard, McCollum, I think are okay, and then the center. So I don't know if I would have four players for that from that game. I mean, it's a good game. It's not the best game in the world. I mean, there's some really good games. I don't know if I would have four. I think I would max three because I could see McCollum and Lillard and then taking a shot on a guy like Hernan Gomez and then having to pivot like we talked about at the start.
Okay, and a lot of people asking about Narrative Street. Meansy does not visit that street, but you may, because this is the first time that Damon and McCollum have played each other. So are you thinking maybe they just
interested
firing away?
No, I mean, McCollum is with Zion out. He's going to get his shots up, right? So I don't think it matters too much who he's facing.
Mm-hmm.
The wrist injury bothers me more than the revenge. Does he get an extra shot in the wrist and he doesn't feel the wrist and he just goes bonkers tonight? I mean, it's doable. But the wrist injury has been bothering McCollum. If you look at his numbers here over the last month, even right before the All-Star break, he just really hasn't been shooting well. I think that wrist thing is way more than they've been talking about. So I like the revenge idea. I mean, it's in Portland. He's going to put up his shots. Does he get 25 shots in this game? Maybe. So yeah, sure. I think you can take some shots on him. Good run back if you're interested in Lillard. Have less interest in Lillard if Simons plays. So we'll have to kind of see if Simons is going to be back or not.
Okay, very good. We got to talk some DK, but first, we always, we're in the Slack chats together, and just about every Monday, because NASCAR runs on Sunday, correct?
Yes.
So every Monday is like Stevie Monday, where he just posts all of these people that won money on his NASCAR product, and he just spams it. He's just spamming winners, and I'm pretty sure he had a big week last week, right? I don't know, Daytona or something I don't know about.
Yeah, Daytona 2 weeks ago, we had the person that won the $1 million come from the subscriber, which is really cool. Last week, we had someone turn $70 into 20 grand. So yeah, I mean, it's good start to the season. I think we're plus 25 units in betting. So it's been a really solid start to the year. And I mean, now the pressure's on, right? Now you've had 2 really good weeks and now it's I got to have another one. But no, I mean, we have the best NASCAR community in DFS and betting. It's such a great place to be on Discord, and the information that we talk about is great.
And so if someone wants to sign up for that, you can get the RotoGrinders DFS package for NASCAR. And then is it scores and odds if they want NASCAR bets?
Well, I mean, either one. If you do the RotoGrinders Premium NASCAR /NASCAR, the bets come in that as well.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Bets for NASCAR if you're a subscriber for SAO or scores and odds, then you get it both ways.
Okay, very good. So make sure you're doing that, because literally everybody just says this first week just paid for my, Stevie's package paid for itself. So, obviously can't promise that, but everybody loves it. So make sure you're checking that out. With that said, let's jump on over to some NBA, back into the NBA. Let's talk DK.
Yeah, we have the best NASCAR community because Stevie heads the NASCAR community.
He's
so
literally the NASCAR GOAT. Everyone knows it. It's just a fact. Yeah, that's true.
Appreciate you guys.
Wanted to throw that little tidbit in. DK is a relatively simple build for the first I don't know, for me 4-5 spots. So 3 Lakers that are just way too cheap for me. And one thing we didn't really talk about with this game, usually when we have a situation like this, it's are they going to be able to keep it close? We don't know. How many can I play? It might be a blowout. It's a 3-point spread. They're playing the Thunder. So the Thunder, like Stevie said, the Thunder want to lose. Yeah. So I don't really have those concerns. Anything can happen in the NBA, but I don't really care. I don't have that little part in my head saying, how many should I play? They might get blown out.
Okay, that's a good point.
I think you're playing Schroeder at point guard for sure. I think you're playing Beasley at shooting guard for sure. And those guys are only that eligibility. And then I'm kind of going back and forth on where you put Vanderbilt. He's power forward center. But I think for sure that's who you're starting builds with if you're just looking for optimal lineup. So that's what I would be doing. And then there's some other really good guards too that you're going to have to kind of make some choices about. 7-2 Rozier, 9-9 Morant. Love those guys. You have cheap Lakers that are good fill-ins. Reeves at 3.8, Walker at 3.3. Right there are dudes that I could pretty much draw the line at as far as primary things. So I could give you a laundry list of other guys that would be great plays on a smaller slate or a slate that Anthony Davis didn't get rolled out. But I would just be naming names and name names. So we can move on to small forward. Familiar name here, Jalen Williams, big fan. I prefer, if you can get to him, it's $1,100 difference. I prefer him over Lou Dort. Both are fine, but like maybe I'm just a little sore from Dort over props yesterday when he played 21 freaking minutes. But the price is good, and maybe it's one of those situations where they just give him his normal run tonight. So I really like both those Thunder guys. You have more Lakers. Already mentioned Lonnie Walker. You also have Troy Brown here. He probably falls down the list. I would rather play like Reeves. I'd rather play Lonnie Walker, but he's cheap and he's there. And then you have spin up. So you have DeMar DeRozan at 7'9" and Ingram at 8'3". For kind of the same reasons, I like one and not the under. Or I'm sorry, one and not the other. So like Stevie was talking about McCollum and how his numbers are a little down. And the beneficiary of that has been Ingram. And then you also have the like hidden upside of Joval being out. So like I really like him if you can get him. There's no worry about can I fit him, because quote unquote, he's going to play, like famous last words, but he's not like listed on any injury report. But like he could just have an even better projection if Joval's out. Really, really like spinning on Ingram. And I think he had like one fantasy point in the fourth quarter on Monday, and he ended with like 38. Like I thought he was easily going for over 50. He's been doing a lot. I really like Ingram tonight, which brings me to DeRozan. You look at his numbers, you look at his game log, you look at his usage. It is not pretty. Like he had one big game. Look at his shooting in that. I think he's like 12 for 16. Like his usage has been down. I don't know if it's because of that hit thing. I thought the All-Star break was going to heal that up. Maybe it's small sample size and it doesn't matter. Roth, I like my 7K guys that can get you 50. I think DeRozan fits that mold. I hope if that projected ownership number is right, 12%. I love that for tournaments, but I would much rather play Ingram for an optimal lineup.
Okay.
And I think that's it for small forward. So let me roll on over to power forward, where, again, a Vanderbilt decision where you put him. You have Jalen Williams there if you need him. Small forward, power forward. Then it gets kind of fuzzy here. Rui, if he starts, I'm fine with. He's 3.7. Like, not anywhere close to my favorite Laker, but definitely okay with him. Pistons, Hayes, Ivy, McGruber. How about who was on the show this Monday? Was it Tim? He kept calling that Rodney guy McGruder with a D. Like, did he not know his name?
It's McGruber.
McGruber.
Everyone knows it's McGruber.
About to flip my table over. You can go Sarge here.
Listen to the morning grind if you want people's names to be pronounced right.
I purposely pronounced this guy's name wrong just because I love McGruber. You can go Sarge here if you want. There's not a lot to like here, honestly. Giannis, I kind of probably need to talk about him because he's really, really easy to get. Middleton's out. It's the second night of a back-to-back. He didn't play that much last night, but he's also been dealing with some nagging stuff. I know he had the wrist thing going into the All-Star break. Then he left the first game back with a knee injury. Like, I think I would be shocked if he's not fine because they're really conservative with how they treat guys throughout the season. So the fact that he's playing on the second night of a back-to-back makes me think there's no issue. But he's 12-3. Like, yeah, that's an easy get with all the Lakers value. But I kind of would rather play like Ja. I'd kind of rather play Ingram. I'd kind of rather play Rozier. That was the other one I was thinking of. So that's kind of where I'd lean towards. It's projections are going to love to jam him in, and it's fine. Like, the Lakers look great, but I don't think you have to do it. Is basically my point, I guess. Let's move to center, where if you want, you can play Vanderbilt. You can play Giannis at the power forward center, and you're good. You can play Bamba. Like, he's good enough per minute that he doesn't need a lot to be okay for you. I'm trying to think in cash the best way to put this, because I already talked about what I was going to do, a single entry off the top, which is like play for late game stuff. Trying to think. I would probably go. I would probably go two routes. One of these two. I would go just do the Vanderbilt Giannis thing and jam in the cheap Lakers stuff at guard and forward, or I would go Vanderbilt, Bamba. And this is, again, if you can play Vanderbilt at center and just play like Jalen Williams at power forward too. The other route would be go Vanderbilt, Bamba at center, and then pay up for those other guys at like guard and forward. So I think that's generally what I'm looking at. Oh, and one other one, Wiseman. I know Steve talked about him a lot. Yeah.
Going to interject there, yeah.
That would be the other one that is like, they're getting Jaden Ivey back. They're getting Bojan back. They're not getting any of the bigs back that they were without on Monday. Like the other guys matter, of course. Like those are their two highest usage guys. But like Wiseman is still going to be out there, mid to upper 20s. Still going to get shots up because they want him to get shots up. They've been pretty aggressive as far as like scheming for him, and he's still going to get rebounds and he's still going to block shots. So he would be like honestly the safest quote unquote option. And I think he's very much in, one of those options. So make him option number 3. And that's all I got.
Okay. Very nice. Stevie, let's talk DK GPPs. Anything different with your builds on DK as opposed to FanDuel?
I mean, just reiterating like how much I like Ayton. If this game stays close, like Charlotte allows like 3 more fantasy points per game to opposing centers than any other team in the NBA. Like that's a lot. Like San Antonio and Charlotte are just teams that just are terrible against. So I think with everyone kind of trying to save money at center, just being different there. But yeah, I mean, the DraftKings lineups kind of build themselves. You got to get different. I think like making sure I get the Thunder side again on DraftKings, like I talked about on FanDuel, playing Sarge, playing Williams, playing Dort. I mean, you got to have a short memory when it comes to DFS. And last night, Dort and Giddey just weren't playing well, and they're like, "Hey, you're going to the bench," and they sat there. So short memory on those guys. Go back to the well. I mean, I was looking at like we have this cool like opto percentage estimated probability of opto, and like Dort's up there. He's really high on this slate. So, and he's not projecting for as much ownership as some of these Lakers guys. So just looking at the other side of that game, and I know Meansy talked about it, but like realizing just how fast this Lakers game is going to be. Like the Lakers are second, the Thunder are third in pace. Like this game is going to be extremely fast. The Thunder are not going to play defense here. They don't want to win. And then going to DeRozan, like Andy was talking about, Detroit doesn't want to win either. We're getting into that time of the year. It's March. We're getting into that time of the year where teams are actively trying to lose games. That's it. That's all I got. I mean, yeah.
All right. I am seeing a few names here that I wouldn't mind throwing at you here. We've got still 12 minutes for questions, but the first name that popped to me was Lord King Guru says, I think Drummond is going to 7X tonight. Drummond was not a name anyone mentioned, but we do have kind of a weak center position. Anyone interested?
I mean, I think if you're playing Drummond, you're kind of just hoping the game doesn't stay close. If he gets 20 to 25 minutes, he could crush. I don't see it. I mean, Detroit is really bad, and they're really bad against centers. If they did give Drummond 25 minutes in this game, he crushes. It's just we have so much value that we have projected for 25 plus minutes that it's really hard to say, hey, let's take shots on Drummond instead of, saving $300 and playing Dario Sarge or, Mo Bamba or these guys that just project way better. I know it's revenge. I get it. People love revenge. I'm all for it, especially in basketball, because you have the ball in your hands, but this is a guy that's playing like 15 minutes a night. Let's not go too crazy here.
Right. You can only extract so much revenge when you're sitting on the bench. Your revenge quotient is minimalized. All right, let's dive into some picks here. We got about 11 minutes until lock. I will start, as always, in the RG Discord. You will start, I'm not going to, if you don't mind, by clicking that thumbs up button. It's great stuff by Meansy and Stevie, as always. So let's get to it. Jumping in the RG Discord, Yappy says, DK question for my single entry. Here we go. I've got Ayton and Willie for util. Can you go down to Watford? Jesus. Can we get some punctuation, bud? You're killing me here.
The mayor does not punctuate.
No. I've got Ayton and Willie for util. Can go down to Watford, but I have Randall in my forward spot. Is that okay as a one-off? P.S. I love that Stevie on the mayor loves you, Stevie.
Yeah, I mean, I can take this one really quick. I think
Yep.
I don't think anybody's playing Randall. The Knicks are really healthy. It's a solid matchup, but he's not my favorite. I think there's ways to get different. I have no issues having Hernan Gomez in your utility spot. Like, you just have to pay attention. I mean, you like at the end of the day, you just have to pay attention because Watford is 33. Nurkic is already out, so like you're getting 22 to 25 minutes from Watford. So easily pivoting from Hernan Gomez to Watford is fine. I mean, Nance is already ruled out for this one, so like Hayes is gonna play some minutes, or Hernan Gomez. It's gonna be one of the two guys that's going to play some minutes here. But you really want to see Valanciunas out.
Okay, very good. Flying Armbar, this is in the YouTube chat, says, can we fade Giannis completely in a FanDuel GPP? Is he really the only super expensive guy tonight?
I mean, Lillard's up there as well. Embiid would technically be there if he plays. I don't think you're playing Durant. I'm not playing Giannis. And I mean, I'm a one lineup person when it comes to NBA because I don't have the time to play more than one lineup. But we really just haven't seen like a ceiling game from Giannis ever since like this quad thing kind of became a thing. This is the second end of a back-to-back. This game should be somewhat competitive. Giannis probably gets up 25 plus shots, maybe even 30 plus shots. So I could definitely see playing him. There's other guys that I like more. Like I would rank Morant point per dollar higher than Giannis today. So guys that I like more than Giannis. So I can fade him because I am fading him on my FanDuel team. But I think like if you're plugging in a guy that's going to get 60 plus, he's probably the first guy you're plugging in.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. More QQs here. DK Cash means thoughts on Wiseman v. Bagley in cash.
Yeah. So Bagley's played really, really, really well these last two games without those bigs. So it's close. I think what I'll say to this is it's closer than projections would say. I would still probably play Wiseman and cash in like Bagley tournaments. Like Bagley's put up like 38 and 42 the past two games, and he's 4 something still, and no one's playing him again. I mean, play him.
Yeah, good tournament play. All right. DK GPP Stevie, Wiseman versus Vanderbilt.
I think I got to go Vanderbilt. Minutes, right? Like at the end of the day, minutes are everything. I would probably rank Bagley ahead of Wiseman. So, I mean, with that question, I think it's Vanderbilt over Wiseman for me.
Okay. Sean, Stevie, let's see. Stevie, Sean says, in regards to Dort, would you go up $200 to get Jalen Williams in a FanDuel GPP, or are you set on Dort?
Jalen Williams. I would rank Jalen Williams ahead of Dort. I think the only reason that I was talking about Dort was because he projects well, doesn't have a lot of ownership, and he burned everybody last night. I mean, he was one of the higher owned guys. So, like, people don't have short memories when it comes to DFS, and you should. I like Jalen Williams. He's one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. So, I would definitely play Jalen Williams over Dort. But just know, like, Dort, I think, comes in at lower ownership and has just as high a ceiling as Williams.
Okay, very good. FanDuel, DK Cash means my reading struggling today. DK Cash, Bamba, Giannis, Harden, or Ayton, Ingram, Morant.
Caveats.
Okay.
If Embiid's out, for sure the first one. If Bamba's starting, for sure the first one. Otherwise, I'm riding with Stevie and going with the Ayton one.
Okay, nice. FanDuel Cash
smashes, man. If this game stays, if we get 4 quarters out of Ayton, he just smashes in this game.
Yeah. And there's a little bit like with Durant, there's like just a little bit of a question mark where we don't really know what's going to happen.
Like
so
how they integrate them, yeah.
We don't know. Oubre or Jalen Williams, FanDuel Cash means.
I like Jalen Williams, but I also like them both, so they're both fine. But picking one, Jalen Williams.
Very good. FanDuel last in means I'm giving this to you like Dort or DSJ better.
I'm going to go Dort now that DSJ is not starting. And I like Dort for all the reasons Stevie's already talked about. So, yeah, I go Dort.
Very nice. Stevie, can you play 4 Lakers in a DK GPP?
I mean, you can play anybody as many as you want. I think that a lot of people might do that tonight. Like, I think the contrarian play is maybe playing like 2 Lakers, and like it probably doesn't work out. Like 3 or 4 Lakers is probably optimal tonight, but I think if you want to get different and you want to still play the Lakers, maybe taking 2. But yeah, you could play 4. I mean, we've talked about it so many times, but we'll talk about, like, I'll say it one more time. Like, the Thunder are trying to lose this game. This game is going to be a competitive game with 2 of the top 3 fastest paced teams in the NBA. The minutes are going to be Schroeder, Beasley, Vanderbilt, Hachimura, Walker. Like, they don't have that many other guys. So yeah, it's one of those rare scenarios where you can play 4 Lakers, I think. But again, if you're playing 4 Lakers, I would definitely have at least 1, but probably 2 Thunder players.
Okay, very good. Crossover King says, Stevie, do you like Jones or Marshall if Richardson is out? I know TJ and Ice mentioned their value with J. Rich out.
I think Jones, just because, like, we kind of have a sample size. Jones is someone that can play 35 minutes. My only problem with, like, Herb Jones is he just kind of sits on the court. Like, he's not a huge usage guy. And
offensively, not defensively. Defensively,
yeah, offensively.
blows
like,
my
yeah,
damn
so, like,
mind.
Ingram and McCollum are just kind of chilling. They have the usage for this New Orleans team where, like, if a guy like Hernan Gomez gets a chance, like, this dude shoots and he blocks shots, he steals, he rebounds at a really high rate. So I think it's Jones. I don't have a huge lean. Like, I'm not really looking at, like, the Richardson situation, and I probably should be looking at it more because he's a 30-minute guy. But I mean, Jones is really a 30-minute guy too. So maybe they give Trey Murphy 30 minutes tonight and you take some shots on him.
Okay. Means FanDuel Cash, what are your thoughts on Saric as a last piece?
Feels a little thin to me personally. Just, I mean, for reasons Stevie mentioned with just how the Thunder do things, like, his minutes could be yanked out from under him. They're just weird, man. I think there's better ways to go. It's one of those where you, like, feel like an idiot for not playing him after he does well, but that's not anywhere close to guarantee with the way they treat things in OKC. So I personally wouldn't do it, but I know there's logic to doing it also. So
okay. FanDuel GPP, Stevie, is it okay to play Giddey and Jalen together?
Maybe. So I think, like, one of the things that we're not, like, really talking about enough is, like, Kendrick Williams getting ruled out. Like, that's 30 minutes and usage right there for the Thunder. SGA is not playing. We know that. So, I mean, the usage should go to Giddey, Dort, and Jalen. So I don't hate it. I think I want to take a shot, like, on one of the big guys. I mean, like I said, I think Sarge is the guy because Kendrick Williams plays a lot of 4. They move him around at the 3 as well. And I think Sarge is someone that could potentially play the 4. Isaiah Joe's going to play the 2. Giddey's going to play point most of the night. And Dort is going to be that 3. So trying to figure out where those 4 minutes are going to go, I think is a better bet than maybe taking 2 of the usage guys that are, I mean, could potentially hurt each other.
Okay, very good. DK Cash means if Embiid is out, do you like Morant or Harden better?
That's a good question. I just want to double check Harden's price tag. It's 10-3. I would probably go Harden there, and that game starts 30 minutes before the Grizzlies, so it's $400 difference, but I would go Harden. But that game's in Miami. What has Harden been doing?
Oh, no. Oh, no. You can't play Harden in Miami? You can't do it.
South Beach flu narrative,
big time.
whatever the opposite of narrative is. Yeah.
Yeah. The gentleman's club narrative.
Yeah.
All right. FanDuel Cash 2v2. I think I missed one. I'll get back to it. Tybal Grant or Dort Reeves? We're lightning. We're, by the way.
Non-title one.
Okay. We're very close to lock. DKGPP's any level of concern with Morant playing with the recent news on him?
I mean, that all kind of happened outside the court. And if he wasn't going to play, I don't think he'd be in uniform. But I mean, it's definitely something to kind of pay attention to.
Yeah. DK Cash 3v3 means, I think you answered this, but maybe Freyas missed it. Bamba Giannis Harden versus Ayton Ingram Ja. It's Ayton Ingram Ja unless
Embiid's out, and unless Bamba starts for some reason.
There we go. Yeah, that was it. Thank you. FanDuel GPP game theory question right before lock. I'm only on 2 games, Stevie. Portland, New Orleans, and Lakers OKC. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes, it's okay. Is it something I'm doing? No.
Okay. Is Reed a free square if Embiid is out? I guess we haven't really talked a lot about if Embiid is out because we kind of think he's going to play. But
if he's out and Reed is starting, yeah, that's not anywhere close to guaranteed. They could start Reed, Trez, or PJ Tucker at the 5. So that is big time TBD.
Okay. Another if Embiid is out question. NBA DFS says, if Embiid is out, does that put Harris and Maxey in play?
On DK, for sure. They're really good price tags there.
Yeah, very good. With that, we have hit the lock, gentlemen.
Great having Stevie on the show.
Oh, it's just he's just a calming,
just a delight.
Just wonderful, Stevie. You want to play NASCAR stuff again before we go?
Yeah, I mean, Roto. I almost forgot how to say it. It's like Dan. He always mispronounces my name, so it's okay. I'm allowed to mispronounce RotoGrinders. RotoGrinders.com/premium/NASCAR projections, articles, bets, all that stuff. And make sure if you are a NASCAR premium subscriber, get in the Discord. You should be in Discord anyway. There's a ton of great stuff going on in Discord just in general. Make sure you're in Discord for NASCAR because, like I said, it's the best community. And we got F1 starting this week. We're going to have some F1 content that if you are a core premium subscriber, that is included in there. So I'll be in the F1 streets this week. Going to do some bets for scores and odds as well. So, yeah, busy week with F1 starting back up. We have a lot of people that have gotten into F1 because of the Netflix show. Fantastic show, and should be a fun season.
I really want to watch that. I've heard great things.
You gotta watch the golf one. You gotta watch the golf one. It's so
the golf one.
I'm through 2 episodes of the golf one. I'm loving it.
Dude, it's solid. I watched it in 2 days. It's great.
All right. I didn't know that you NASCAR'd and F1. This is news to me. That's awesome.
Head of motorsports, man.
Yeah.
That's why it's motorsports and not that. But it's all clicking now. I get it. Okay, we are going to bounce on out of here. So for Stevie, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.